Mishlei, Perik, Chaf, pasuk, Daled. I think this is gonna be an easy one. Okay, and we'll see. Yeah, yeah. Mechoref atzel lo yacharosh. Now this is a Greek sieve, right? So the sieve is yisha'al, and then the Kri is visha'al. So I think I don't know if there's some grammatical thing I'm missing here. I also know what yisha'al. Yish'al I know is the way you would say he will ask, right? I don't know what yisha'al. I don't know what that means. You know, I think plain shot is that he will. Oh, sorry, I didn't translate. The Katir V'ayin, yeah. How you want to translate it? Yeah.
So from the winter, the lazy person will not plow.
Okay.
And he will ask. He asks in the harvest season, and there is none. Yeah.
Good thing for I'm paying $12 extra a month to have automatic audio editing for the podcast people. He did warn me he was going to do a dramatic flare. I didn't know it would be auditory. Yeah.
I was gonna warn you also, but then.
Yeah, we'll see how it turns out. This is a good experiment.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay, so I totally missed what you said.
I said.
You don't have to enact it again.
Okay. And he asked or borrows in the winter.
I think asks here, yeah.
Yeah.
In the winter?
Sorry, not in the harvest season.
In the harvest season.
And there is not.
And there is, yeah. There is nothing. Yeah. Okay. So Saadia Gaon just says Vishal, Va'az yivakish davar bisman hakatir. Then he will seek the thing in the time of the harvest. So he's converting it into he's converting it back into the future tense, right? Because shal is past tense, which doesn't make sense to me. It seems like it has to be the future tense. You know, they'll ask for it in the harvest, and there'll be nothing. Okay, and then Targum, yeah.
Is Mishlei like Tehillim, where the tenses don't matter, or?
It's not as like Tehillim. That doesn't mean it doesn't happen, because since it is poetic and proverbial, then you sometimes like there will be like a looseness to make it flow more, you know. But the reason why I'm just perplexed here is like, why would you change and this is a question in general, why would it change the ksiv from future yishal to past tense? Like that to me seems like davka past tense, but that doesn't make sense. I don't really know. Okay, and then Targum I didn't get a chance to look up actually. Let's just see if there's anything different. Mischastad. That's weird. Does that mean like act pious? Unless I just don't know what it means. Mischastad.
That's like in last parsha.
Okay. Could be. No, like shame, right? Last week's parsha?
Yeah.
Yeah. Mischasad atla lo shafik. Let's just skip this one. Yeah, let's skip the Targum here. I'm fine with that. All right. Okay, fine. So Saadia Gaon didn't really add much here. Okay, so then we have Art Scroll says, because of the, this is interesting. This is actually, I think, a valid reading. Because of the winter, and then in brackets, cold. Because of the winter cold, the lazy person will, a sluggard will not plow. He will desire, in brackets, a crop at the harvest, but it will not be there. So this is so the mem here could be read in two ways. Either it's a mem that from the winter, meaning like from that time, or it means mem is on account of or because of. Okay. Living Now says, on account of the winter, the lazy man does not plow. Then at harvest time he seeks, but there's nothing. And Alter says, after winter, the sluggard does not plow, but he asks in the harvest and has nothing. Okay, and that's fine. All right. So the main ambiguity here is from the winter or because of the winter, winter. Lazy person will not plow. He asks in the harvest season, there's nothing. Okay, fine. Yeah.
I have a idea about pasuk.
Okay.
That it says that he will not plow, not that he will not plant.
Right. So we could get some facts clear here. Right. So apparently, let's look at hold on, don't look yet. Okay. So apparently the winter is the time to plow.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. That's all I'm saying. Yeah. Yeah, but you're right. It doesn't say he won't plant. Yeah.
Yeah. Plowing, just getting all the facts on the table. So plowing breaks up the ground to makes it more suitable for planting.
Right.
Yeah.
We got a budding expert here.
Yeah.
Alicia, thanks for a face off here. Yeah.
Yeah, and in Eretz Yisrael, they would actually plow and then plant
And then plow again. Yeah. Yeah.
What
Well,
an answer.
yes, that was intentional. I'm glad you caught that. Yeah. 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 Do you know the I know you know this, I think. This is Magic the Gathering pro named LSV who likes puns, but he has a different philosophy of puns. So his philosophy of puns is you don't call attention to it. You try to make it without anyone noticing, and then the people who notice, it's like a kiyum when they notice, you know.
Yeah.
I fluctuate back and forth. Like I you know, like that's the Easter egg type you know thing. Yeah. Yeah. Okay. Right. So what are the questions?
So the ambiguity.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So what does Mephorah mean?
Yeah. What is an otel?
What is an otel?
Why is it not?
Yeah. Why doesn't he plow?
Why is he? If he's not doing what he needs to do, then why is he looking?
Yeah.
Who is he asking from?
Yeah.
Meaning.
Yeah. So what I'm trying to see if we can merge that question, or if they're two different questions.
Those are definitely true.
Yeah. So
Yeah.
why? Well, what can you elaborate when you say why is he looking? Like clearly he wants crops.
Okay. Well,
Right.
okay. Let's say it was that he didn't plant.
Yeah.
Then if he didn't plant, he's gonna know he doesn't have.
Yeah. Okay. So that's what the way I was going to ask the question is like, what did you expect would happen? You know, like yeah, like what was his what's his havamina, right? Or what is his havamina or plan? Okay. What did he expect would happen? And it's, you know, like, even though I think conceptually this is the same thing, it's like if, you know, I mean, again, seen this lots of times, you know, a student doesn't study for the test and then they get a bad grade. Well, what did you think would happen? You know, so like there, though, for some reason, I feel like it's easier to justify, like you can, or it's easier to understand the havamina, like I thought it would be easy, or I thought I knew the material, but like there's no way to get the crops unless you plant them. So what do you expect was going to happen? You know, like there, it's like a more solid question. And then your question is, who is he asking from?
Yeah.
Yeah. Let's just make this about the word.
Okay.
Okay, to broaden it a little bit.
Yeah.
Why does it? Because like, you know, Saadia Gaon changed it to yivakesh. He'll seek out. That makes a lot more sense.
Yeah.
Why does it say? In this way, we can also ask about the ksiv. Okay. Why does it say v'sha'al? Okay. Instead of say yivakesh. And why? Who's he asking from? Who is he asking from? Why? What is the sense of the ksiv?
What is he asking for? I guess we're assuming he's asking for crops.
Yeah, what exactly is he asking for?
Related to that last thing, is it just like straight shot that it means there's no crops, or is it like ambiguous?
What would the other side of ambiguity be?
I don't know. That's what I'm asking, because it's not specifying it now. That's why.
Right.
That's why I'm asking.
Yeah. Okay. So
That's
I mean,
supposed to be in them because it's it might be different.
yeah. So I'll ask what is the implication of the ayin?
Yeah.
So
What
is
isn't there?
yeah, is it just saying that he has no crops, or is it saying something more? Does that settle your ambiguity cravings? Yeah. Yeah. Right.
It's crops, but he just can't.
Yeah. All right. I think that about covers it, right?
Yeah. I have an interesting observation about myself about this conflict.
Okay.
Which is, I think this is the first conflict this year that I felt like it makes a lot of sense, but taken metaphorically. Where like I'm like I find myself like driven to take it metaphorically.
Yeah. So let me ask you this then: is it So what this reminds me of is the last pasuk we had about the Atzel, which is he puts his hand in the dish and doesn't bring it to his mouth. So that's not metaphorical. Well, okay, maybe one possibility say it was metaphorical, but we learned it hyperbolically.
Yeah.
And like, are you inclined to take this in the same way you take that one? Because I take them both as hyperbole.
No, because I'm not taking this as hyperbole.
Okay.
You know what I'm saying? Like, I feel like I'm tempted to explain it in a way that like applies to a lot of pieces, but not actually this. Like that.
Yeah, I hear that. Yeah, and
yeah. Yeah. Like feel like I did to like jump to generalizations, but not actually like analyze this.
Do you have a not to go down this route right now, but do you have a particular like metaphorical interpretation in mind?
Well, like the studying thing, or like basically like not putting in the work and then not getting like like basically to say it's like if you don't put in the work, you're not going to get
right. I mean, because it is interesting here that clearly this is not just about plowing. You know, so like it can apply to other stuff. So I don't know if the line between metaphor and not is so clear. Like,
I'm saying I found myself not looking to analyze the actual case. That's
right. Okay, fine. Right. So that thing, I think we definitely should.
Yeah. No, I'm not saying this is a good thing.
I know you're not saying.
Especially because we're not farmers, so we
Yeah.
don't know the case.
Yeah, I think the study for test is the easier case to think about. Yeah.
You don't want to. I actually don't want to be.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
And that made you a farmer.
I think also an important question is, did he plant stuff or not? Because it doesn't, like as I would say, it doesn't specify that he didn't.
Yeah,
Plant.
so
he didn't plow.
I'm comfortable saying that he did not plant because he didn't even plow, and you can't plant. You're not going to plant without plowing. Like you could, it's just not going to succeed very well, right?
Yeah. Also,
you just like throw seeds on top of the ground and like
So yeah.
and like the birds will eat them, or they'll die. Like
That was actually what I was gonna say, but maybe the alcohol thing.
Oh, interesting. Okay,
And that's why he expected something to happen.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And then it didn't happen. He's like, well, what do you mean? I threw seeds on the ground.
Yeah. Right. That's possible.
Yeah,
right.
like he did.
He's
like,
taking a
he did,
shortcut
like,
and then it didn't work.
Yeah.
He did like a half-hearted effort, so he was expecting like maybe like a
Right.
half-hearted crop, and then he just
Yeah, that's like just to extend this into the studying analogy. It's like students who think that how do you study? You read your notes. That's not studying, like that's just not gonna do anything. Or or you highlight the textbook. Like that's not the same thing as studying, Yeah. What was that?
That's a test.
Yeah, if it's spit back, then maybe, but even that's not a good strategy if you're covering lots of material. Yeah.
It
Yeah.
definitely depends on your level of knowledge.
Right. Okay, so that is possible, I guess. Yeah, that he's.
I just students who like quickly flip through their notes like 10 minutes before the test.
Yeah. The reason I am not inclined to think that is because he's lazy. So like, I'm inclined to think that if he doesn't want to plow because of the cold or at the time of the cold, then he's not going to do anything. But I hear the other reading.
Yeah, I guess the way that I seems to me is like I'm like because of the question of what was he expecting, it seems to me like maybe he's like, why do I need to go through this work of like breaking up like the cold frozen hard ground? I'm just gonna like yeah, that'd be better, but I'm just gonna do like I'm gonna I'll just dust seeds.
Right. So cutting corners.
Yeah.
So this is a question I think that's related to what is the Atel, and it's related to how we read Mechore, because if we're saying that it's emphasizing that this is the time for plowing and when he's supposed to be plowing and he's not, so then it might be emphasizing the procrastination element, the fact that there's a window of opportunity for any process in that occurs in the physical world, or most processes in the physical world, like there's a certain window of opportunity, and his laziness causes him to miss that. The other possibility is if it's saying because of the cold, then that might be emphasizing more of the rationalization. That he's saying, oh, I would plow, but it's cold.
And what was the first one?
First one is that it's emphasizing that from the time of the winter, he doesn't plow. I mean, he should be, and he's not doing it. I heard a statistic yesterday. I don't remember the numbers, but they were talking about becoming an Eagle Scout. Which like is a huge accomplishment. And they said that I guess the thing is, obviously it's probably hard to become an Eagle Scout, but they said that the reason why most people who are qualified don't do it is, I guess you have to do Eagle Scout project, and then there is a strict deadline. And it said like Boy Scouts of America does not budge on the deadline. And what ends up happening is people do the entire Eagle Scout thing, and then they push off writing their report on their final project. And if they miss it, apparently like there's just no way you can there's no way you can get it. So like there are a bunch of like, so it's interesting. That actually reminds me of one we did in chapter 10 about like Nirdam Bakatir, Ben Mavish, that he's asleep at the harvest time. I guess that's a different thing, But I was thinking about it because, why was I thinking about it? Oh, because window of opportunity and procrastination, That's not necessarily indicative of a lack of willingness to do the work. There's something else going on,
Maybe is it possible he's like, if we take the approach that it's saying from the winter, not like from the cold,
from the winter time,
it could be like he's thinking, and it seems weird that he think this in terms of crop, but that like he's thinking, oh, I'll just plant the crops, like I'll plant the seeds when I want the food.
Right. Yeah. I think that's possible. Yeah, I think that's definitely possible. Yeah.
And then, but you have to sort of like plan beforehand.
Yeah. So that is really talking about, I think that does fit in nicely with the from winter time, because one of the fallacies of laziness is you basically view it as though the world operates on your schedule instead of reality having its own time, and so he takes himself out into thinking, oh, like, yeah, I can just do this when it's convenient for me, and you can say that also for the cold part, like guess what's going to happen in the winter? It's going to be cold, so like, but that also is the time to plow, they're both stem from the same cause, which is like the earth's, like the seasons and the sun and the earth, so like, you can't like in your mind, you can fabricate, oh, well, what if there were a time that is a plowing season that is also warm, but that time is just not going to exist, so like he just imagines, he fantasizes that there will be a time that I can still do it and get the result will also be suitable for my needs. It was really, I just got to say this out here. It was really bad for me that they extended the tax deadline this year, because I still haven't done my taxes yet. And oh, it's like, well, 14 days ago, like, oh, I have a month. And now it's like, like it's yeah. But that's an example I've been thinking about also here. That one you really can do anytime, and that makes it more dangerous. It's not like there's any difference in terms of the actual doing it between doing it now and doing it a week from now.
Yeah.
But yeah.
Right. Is that what lends you to not?
Yes.
Yeah, because you can just.
Yeah.
But you in a normal year you wouldn't.
A normal year also. Yeah, but I think the fact that like it got pushed off is bad for like that catered right into my laziness.
Yeah, it's not, and then it's not like it's like this is just the reality as like it's
yeah.
Like,
well, all the last year they pushed it off, so it's a double whammy, yeah. Like, and it's even worse for me because I am not lazy. Like in general, this is an area where I am lazy. Anything having to do with like money chores, So
yeah, not good.
Yeah. He looks for the IRS and the harvest. They're there. Yeah.
He looks out the window hoping there's no IRS.
Yeah.
And they're there.
Yeah. Oh, I hope they're not monitoring YouTube. Yeah. Okay. So I think we could probably come up with an idea. I mean, I feel like we have already, but so should we? Does this call for a new definition of laziness, or are we good with our Saadia Gaon definition of laziness? Is there anything pushing us to a new definition?
Can we just recap what the Saadia Gaon?
Well, I don't want to say it until now, because if there is a new direction, then we'll.
I don't think.
Okay. So Saadia Gaon says. So he says basically there's like two base drives in a person. There's taiva and atzlus. So taiva, he says, is the pursuit of immediate pleasure, and atzlus is the avoidance of immediate pain and conflict.
Right.
And so the atzel is someone who has a compulsive need to avoid all immediate pain and conflict, and the fact that that's going to bring about worse consequences is not real to him. And even the fact that there is a pleasure that he can get, that's really what we did in the reaching his hand into the bowl, which is that that was what the hyperbole was trying to exaggerate, is the fact that he now has his hand in the bowl, and there are two things that can happen. Either he endures the immediate pain of bringing it to his mouth and gets the immediate pleasure of eating, or he avoids the immediate pain of bringing it to his mouth and doesn't get the immediate pleasure of eating, and that's what he does. That's what makes him an atzel. Like an atzel does that, the Baal Taiva would eat it. So here, that's what's preventing him. See, this is where I think that because of the cold, I think is more in line with the definition of the atzel. That like he would go out and plow. Actually, maybe he wouldn't. He'll find an excuse also. Maybe that's the idea. Okay, like this. Let's say it wasn't cold. What would he do? He'd find a different excuse, right? Meaning it still involves immediate pain to go and plow. The thing is that he chalks it up to the cold. Okay, and the fact is that it's an even worse excuse, because that's a feature of the reality, like that is going to be there no matter what,
Well, so is plowing and stuff.
That's also true, right? That's true. Yeah.
Well, I guess he's saying, he's like, I know I need to plow, but like it's too painful, and he's talking about the cold. So it's like, I'm gonna plow when it's warmer.
Right.
July, January goes by,
Right.
He goes, and then he's like, it's like warm. He's like, okay, I'm gonna plow now, and it's harvest season.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, yeah, and also I think the point is that the way he rationalizes it is, cold isn't like, the same thing as plowing. Like,
Yeah,
they don't have to go together. Maybe,
Yeah.
like,
cold feels like something intervening.
Yeah.
That like makes it so that like I really do want to. I have a great relationship with the plow and the dirt, but like this cold just keeps getting in the way.
Right.
I guess based on
even
that,
though it's-
why does he expect something to be there?
That we haven't answered yet. Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
So yeah, I mean, it could be like the hand in the bucket. Like,
Yeah.
no one's actually gonna not take their hand into the mouth.
Right.
Like, it could just be like, well, no. I mean, I guess you could have a person who doesn't plow.
Yeah, I feel like it'd be an extreme scenario though for a farmer to not actually plow, which is now why I'm more inclined to the fact that he'll do it in like a lazy way, but he'll just keep pushing it off until he has to do it in a rush way or like an ineffective way. Because again, if this is your I'm assuming certain realities about the agrarian society that like you have your farm and your crops, and like this will determine your livelihood and whether you have stuff to eat. I really don't think you wouldn't do anything at all and just expect crops to be there.
Yeah.
People do that with their work.
They do that. That's true. Yeah.
Yeah.
They do it with life. Yeah.
Yeah. In 12th grade, I really didn't want to do my Macaulay application.
Yeah.
And I like pushed it off. I like pushed it off, and like whoever like did like maybe like little bits of it, but I didn't like I just like I kept pushing it off, and then I just missed the deadline.
Yeah.
And like I think I still had like some sort of like lingering expectation in the back of my head that like maybe I was still going to get into Macaulay.
Yeah. So
even though I didn't like complete the application.
Right. I think that's the other element here, is that there is magical thinking going on, magical thinking that things will work out somehow, and I think the vagueness of it is what makes it tempting. And maybe that's what is expressing by the fact that like he asks or he expects it in the in harvest season, and it's not rational. Like, it's just like it'll work itself out. Like, somehow like
maybe it was going to plow for me.
Yeah, right.
There's like the feeling of like there's like you can see what the result is going to be.
Yeah.
And like
you just snip out all the cause and effects.
Yeah. Not thinking about how how the cause and effects are going to work. It's like the result is going to be harvest, because that's always happens with fields. Fields always have a harvest.
Yeah.
And not thinking about how it like gets there exactly.
Yeah.
And so you and so because like that attachment, you can like I'll plow later, I'll plow, you know.
Yeah. So let's just talk about the two qualities. I'm really starting to think this is about. I mean, it's about laziness, obviously, but I think it's more about rationalization. You know, and there's one thing is the quality of timelessness, the fact that like I don't have to be on the schedule of reality. Reality will conform to my schedule. You know, so like the fact that there's only a certain amount of there's only a certain time period in which I can actually successfully plow, like that just doesn't enter into his mind. And then this magical thinking expectation that I'll somehow get the results without actually doing the thing. These are all forms of magical thinking. And like, it is very infantile in the sense that like, this does happen when you're a little kid. Like you don't do stuff and like your parents just take care of it for you, you know? And like, it's very tempting to just fall back on that type of thinking when you're an adult and think that that's going to happen, you know? And it just doesn't, you know? So it's still something about the Mechora thing that I'm still that like the fact that he's blaming it on the cold instead of, in other words, he's not recognized. Like it'd be a level if he said, "I don't like plowing, and that's why I'm not doing it." But the fact that he blames it on the cold seems to be a further removal from reality. Like I think it's worse if he says that I would plow, but it's just cold out. You know, like if he just says I just hate plowing and like I don't want to do it because of that, I think that's a higher level. That's like recognizing the actual internal cause, and here he's just deflecting it to outside. You know.
Yeah, and by the fact that he's deflecting to outside, it's kind of showing that he will never plow no matter the circumstances because he'll just deflect something.
Right, and he doesn't realize that. Like, and if he realizes,
no, I'll plow, but it's the winter.
Yeah, if he realizes I just don't like plowing, then that puts him one step closer to confronting his problem and like saying, okay, I got to plow, but because he's blaming on an external factor,
Right.
then he's not going to realize that he would blame it on anything.
Right.
You know,
an extra step he has to go through
Yeah.
to get to that awareness to then work on it.
Yeah.
And how do we know that he's not actually, like, if it wasn't cold, he would do it? He wouldn't do it?
I'm assuming that because of the nature of the lazy person, that he doesn't like immediate pain and conflict, and plowing is hard work. Also, it's not just because of the cold. It's it's hard. You know.
Because he's not okay. Because it's also.
Yeah. Yeah.
And also the nature of this pasuk, which, like we're saying, seems to be focusing on rationalization, even in the second half where he's like, you know, why didn't it come? Like he's expecting it to come.
Right.
Right, but you're asking specifically why are we assuming he's not going to plow in any case?
Yeah.
Right, because you could still say that the pasuk is only talking about not plowing because of the winter.
Mm-hmm.
See, just to contrast this with the pasuk that I was referencing earlier, the pasuk in 10 says, Ben Mavish Nirdam Bakatzir, that the shameful son is fast asleep at the harvest time. You know, so when we learned that one, we inferred that he's only fast asleep at the harvest time. He's not fast asleep during the plowing and planting time. You know, so we had evidence in the pasuk, and it also says Ben Mavish, a shameful son, which doesn't identify the same quality as laziness. So like that pasuk left more room to assume that he actually was doing the work that the pasuk wasn't saying. Here, just given the fact that it's Atzel, especially going with Saadia Gaon, then I feel confident saying that he's actually not, he would not want to plow.
Right. Yeah, also, the ambiguity in the pasuk of whether it's from the winter time, which would be from the winter time onward, or from the cold.
Right. Yeah. Let's look at the parsha because I gotta go early today. And I think like Saadia Gaon, I know you don't have Saadia Gaon, but he said that the pshat of the pasuk is Yedua. You know, like I think there's one of these psukim that people recognize as a general like Mishleic basic pasuk. So let's look at the Meiri because I think his is a basic interpretation.
Wait, aren't there a lot of psukim that like on the surface seem obvious?
Yeah. Yeah. This is not one of them. I don't think so. Yeah, I this is my intuition. Mechorev ata lo yacharosh v'shal b'katir v'ayin. Mechorev raklomer mizman hachorev lo yacharosh. From the time of the winter, he does not plow. Klomar mitchilas zman hacharisha ad sof zmana lo yachush la. Interesting. From the beginning of the plowing time to the end of it, he will not worry about it. Achar she'ein hacharisha motzia peri. That's an interesting thing because the plowing does not produce fruit. Okay, so that's saying something different, not because of the pain, or I mean that might still factor in, but because he doesn't see the immediate results.
Yeah, well, I think that's part of like the magical thinking is that if it's the last step, then it's like, oh, there's a clear cause and effect, and then I think the Oslo isn't going to have this like magical thinking,
right?
But it's like the fact that it's removed from it is like,
yeah. Eino choshesh l'troach mamash ein hana'asa mitzuya l'shato. See, the thing that, okay, I'll translate. He doesn't worry about toiling in it because in something that the benefit or that the pleasure is not found immediately. See, but that pasuk is somewhat undermined by the hand in the bowl because there the pleasure is immediate.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's also the opposite of the Ben Mavish.
Yeah, right. Because they're just ready for the harvest. Yeah, that's true. Yeah.
Well, I think the hand in the bowl is like it's a different facet of it.
Yeah, I agree. Yeah.
This is like the not doing things because of disassociation.
Right. I was just saying that on the surface, if you just read this, it would seem to imply that if the benefit were ripe for the picking, then he would do it. Therefore, when he asks or when he seeks it out in the harvest, he won't find anything. This is teaching us that you should do malachos in their time. Zman after zman, time after time, according to what's proper for them. All right, so I think almost everyone says that this is about chachma and learning also, you know. So that's, he said he explained it fully earlier. That's the famous ant pasuk. Yeah, which in pasuk, yeah, it's in pasuk vav or parak vav, but it also is duplicated in another place in the introductory program. If we're in the mood to, we could do that tomorrow. I wouldn't mind going to that if he explains it fully there. If we still want to talk about laziness. Okay, yeah. So I don't think that there's anything new here, right? This is going with the idea of like expecting reality to operate on his schedule.
Well, I never thought about Yishal.
Yeah.
Or like if you learn it as a task, that could like that could be like describing his like more of an thinking that he's like asking. I mean, like it's not specifying which fork is happening.
Right.
It's like asking like the universe.
Right. That's like personifying reality.
Yeah.
Which I think also caters, or which also is a I don't know if it's alluding to or if it just is consistent with like the childish way of thinking. Like, yeah, you know, if you don't get crops, you just ask mom and dad, you know,
Right.
like, and they'll give it to you. But like that universe doesn't work by asking. Is you have to actually, you know, yeah.
Right. Well, there's tefillah. Did that.
Well, tefillah is not going to work if you're not doing anything.
Right.
You know.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay, Rבינו Yona. Let's just see if that is something different. B'nei Adam al midas hazrizus. So this is coming to instruct people about the media of alacrity. Shelo yisrape adam min hamalacha mipnei hakor mipnei hachom. Person should not be lax in his work because of the cold or because of the heat. Lemor saying yavor hazman v'ashuv l'malachti. Saying that the time will pass, meaning the cold and hot time will pass, and then I'll go back to my work. So that's like a rationalization also, right? Like I'll just wait till it gets warmer and then I'll do it. If he does this, pa'amim rabos tishbos hamalacha be'asher yirapeh. So then the malacha is going to cease when he's lax in this way. V'lo timta hashava la'avedato. He won't find a return on his lost object. Meaning the lost object here being time. Like someone who refrains from plowing because of the cold. Uzman hachorev who eis hakarisha. That's even more explicitly like what I was saying. The time of plowing the time of the winter is the time of plowing. And he's refraining from plowing because of the cold. Turns out he's not going to plow. Therefore, he's going to act in the summer and harvest, and there's not going to be anything there. This is Isaac. This is one I thought he was going to quote. Don't say, "Oh, when I have free time, I'll learn," because maybe you won't have free time. You know, I would actually like to do tomorrow to go a little bit more into this, and then go into the ant one.
Yeah, like
Just because this one was so simple, I think we should like dwell on laziness a little bit.
I have a example of this.
Sure.
So in Fader's here, like in that room, there's that light, like so.
Yeah.
And so like I kept like asking myself, thinking like, oh, like it's okay that I like not, that I'm spacing out or not paying attention because like there's just really annoying light that's like
Right.
And like when that goes away, then I'll be able to focus.
That's funny.
But I like now it's like not fixed, but like it's not annoying anymore. And like I still kind of have the same thing. Like, oh wait, like
let me just look for something. That's good. That's a good example. All right, so let's stop here today and we can continue tomorrow. I remember the other thing I was going to say, by the way.